It's Friday, June 21st, 2024, and this is the P.O.C, Documentation of Federal Group Stalking and Monitoring, which is criminal surveillance. It's an exceedingly violent sex offense that's committed by a public entity in concert with the population, the constituents of the state. I happen to be in the United States, so this is a criminal act committed by a corrupt government. It is a matter of public corruption, and it's entirely demonic. In fact, every aspect of the criminal act committed by the government in concert with the population engaging in surveillance are demonic, including the very environment that I am surrounded by, where I'm subject to demonic methods of surveillance, and it is seen, personified, witnessed through what is engineered light. And as you have seen through my pictures, as I'm capturing this engineered light inside of my apartment, you're looking at what is light that's literally growing. That's how I would describe it, growing inside in real time inside of the apartment. As you're looking at it now spreading onto the floor, and as you've seen, the entity keeps this light source. This is a light source. It's distinct from the alleged sun. That's not the sun. That's not the natural environment. And that's what I'm going to show you above, the light source at the same exact time, which is why I started this video at 7:05 in the morning, because same time of year analysis, summer of 2021 at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, where I'm waking up in the morning. This is where the entity was keeping a fake sun, which is what the pattern of conduct consists of now in Los Angeles. The Ontario Museum of History and Arts at 225 South Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, where I've also documented the sunset, is mutually exclusive to, but the exact same pattern of maintaining a specific environment amongst what is engineered light, not sunlight, where the people of the state, the population, are group stalking in concert with the state that is stalking in helicopters. That's the pattern of conduct occurring in the specific environment, not the natural environment or any ordinary and lawful behavior by the people of the state and the state itself. It's federal group stalking, monitoring, it's demonic activity. And this is a demonic environment. The images that I captured, just so that you can see, this is engineered light. These blinds are closed, and it's piercing through closed blinds. It's magnified in size, and as you can see right now as I'm capturing video, it becomes larger and larger. This magnification of light becomes more and more concentrated second by second, and the demonic feature is that it literally changes and continues to mutate the more that I document it. It disappears, and then it also reappears, and it becomes more enhanced, more concentrated, which is demonic. None of this is naturally occurring light activity, and it's not different from the light activity. So this is what I'm capturing again, and it's 6:33 in the morning. This isn't the cause of any sunrise. And I'll remind you of that. I'll show you, for example, what's occurring on the back side of my apartment through the bedroom window, where the entity is somehow in a position to aim engineered light. This is what I'm telling you, it's totally distinct from the light source. You're understanding the demonic environment. Everything is just covered with engineered light, but we have been conditioned to just accept that it's the sun that's above us and it's sunlight that's touching everything. And then you're totally not even paying attention to the light activity that has, it's absolutely no explanation for the light activity that surrounds. And when you break it down and pay attention, it's totally illogical and separate. This is the engineered light that's touching the apartment building at this angle and across the parking lot. You can see the shape of the windows. This is engineered light that's appearing again at a distance away. And then you are looking at what is a group stalker. This is Christopher On. He's going to federal prison. He is dressed in his uniform where he is currently working somewhere related to the medical field. He will be permanently removed from the medical field. He is a threat to the public, and no demon and no third-party group stalker, no terrorist, which is what Christopher On is based on his criminal activity with the government, where he is practicing federal group stalking and monitoring, which is terrorism in the US, will ever have anything to do with the medical field, and anyone in the medical field will be promptly removed from, permanently ejected from the medical field. And that's the same for law enforcement. It's the same for the legal profession. It's the same as I've documented all the ways in which a government facilitates this pattern of conduct and the threat that the very population that is group stalking pose. This demon, this psychopath that's maliciously targeting another person, and you know this based on his place of residence, his concerted conduct with the state, the engineered environment surrounding me, which is pointing out malice, and it is in conformity to the pattern of conduct by the people of the state. And they are directly engaged in unilaterally demonstrating their demon possession, which is an act of violence, a threat to the life of an American citizen who is being group stalked by the state, and Christopher On represents the state. And the engineered environment and the timing with which he arrives in relevant position is pursuant to the pattern. At the moment that I open my blinds, this is called strategic placement, as opposed to just, oh, I happen to be just casually walking, walking to my car to start my workday. This is called strategic placement. And the same time, simultaneity of conduct. This is stalking with presence in the path. It's very demonic. And you are also aware of his condition and his intentional conduct because of the unnatural environment that surrounds. This is how you are picking up and deducing the P.O.C. of federal group stalking and monitoring. It is demonic activity. You have a demon. This is a third party. You know both the condition and the criminal conduct by the environment and the pattern of conduct, the behavioral patterns. You have what is demonic pacing. This third party walking down Alvarado and this third party walking in front of me in alignment. They are engaged in demonic pacing while they are crossing path. Christopher On begins to walk towards his vehicle. This is indeed demonic pacing while they are, again, surrounded by the engineered light that is also on my bedroom wall, which is, again, having nothing to do with the light source. This is the pattern of the window. This is the window rods that you open and close the blinds with. It's appearing on my bedroom wall above my television. While the light source is not outside of this bedroom window, it's outside of my living room window where this light activity is on the walls in the living room and it's progressively growing. This is the light activity that appears on my hand. It's progressively growing. I'm documenting the light source, which is no explanation for the engineered light. This is captured at 6:33 in the morning. This is where the light activity continues to progress through what are closed blinds, and the entity is engaging in what is an ongoing progression of engineered light that then begins growing onto the floor. And I use the term growing because that's exactly what it is. This is demonic. And it's not a natural environment, and it is the communication of a threat. It's terrorism via directed light in the same way that the people of the state are terrorizing via directed light as they drive by and engineered light moves across the apartment buildings. This is the iteration of that same pattern of behavior, that pattern of conduct, facilitating massive surveillance and group stalking, including on communication devices, which is the identification of the specific environment. And at the same time, there is no creation of any light activity inside of my apartment where I am at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, which is what you see, above, as I am trying to, here you go, which is what you see above 225 South Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California. Will under no circumstances create any sunlight inside of my apartment. 225 South Euclid Avenue at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts is not seen outside of my living room window in Los Angeles. The two are not happening at the same time, and this is inside and outside of daylight savings time. We're only giving and taking an hour. You're talking about what is supposed to be the natural environment, so that which is going to be substantially the same. And the natural environment also does not consist of everyone everywhere throughout the whole country is looking at the same position of the sun, no matter where you're at, even if you stay at that position for that location, that address. And I've documented the same position at this property in the morning and in the evening, and you've seen the maintenance of the light source. That's not the sun. And it also logically follows, and it's a fact of the natural environment, the operation, that the 225 South Euclid Avenue and 1806 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, outside of the living room window, where the documented maintenance of this light source is still present at 9:42 in the morning, at 10:29 in the morning, at 1:58 in the afternoon, at what is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, while I'm still at this same exact location, showing you this light source, which remains stationary here directly over the top of my head, which is called stalking with a light source, which is what's happening at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. And that's how you have the maintenance, the mutual placement of a light source and not the sun, because there is nothing in common with the two addresses, the two locations, and you're seeing the common placement in my path with a light source. This is the P.O.C. as I documented it at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, where the entity was rising and setting the light source as though this is the natural environment. This is why I picked up the verbiage and started using the vocabulary that I do, because it's exposing the crime scene where the population and the government are together engaging in group stalking, which is demonic activity. And you can see it not only through the maintenance of a light source, which is not the sun, but also through the light activity, which is a method of stalking with engineered light, in the same way that the people of the state are stalking while they are in the comfort of their third-party facilitating venues. They are under no circumstances in any individual capacity maintaining presence in the crime scene that is within the specific environment that you're engaging in what is criminal monitoring. And this is the malicious ways that in an American so-called dignified civilized society, demonic activity is underway and public corruption is underway in the United States. Not different from third world countries where governments are training young children to engage in murder and to engage in terrorism. That's what's going on in America, where federal group stalking and monitoring is underway, facilitated by the population in concert with their minor children, engaging in what is unthinkable, unfathomable sex offenses, while 24-hour surveillance, corporate invasion of privacy, and ongoing group stalking conduct, which is terrorism, by that entity together as one, while they're also demonstrating demon possession. All right, so this is America's version of terrorism, and it is entirely despicable and nauseating. This is a government's criminal system, and the government is filled with the demon possessed. This is why you have, and what I've documented, the ongoing stalking by the state in the specific environment, which is shared by the venue where the sun was rising at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. The entity stalking day and night in helicopters, including at that same venue where I've documented, and I've already seen it's already on the record, after 5 p.m., the light source is still over this Ontario Museum of History and Arts directly over me, and the entity is flying over my head, stalking in helicopter. That is the pattern of conduct. In the specific environment, this is what's going on here, and this is, you know that as a matter of fact, because the entity is keeping the light source in alignment to me in the evening inside of the same apartment. This is what's captured at 5:09 p.m. where the entity is remaining. Methods of stalking with engineered light. That's exactly what you're seeing on my living room wall and on the floor. It's engineered light. This is after 5 o'clock in the evening, and I'm at the same address, 1806 North Alvarado Street, where the entity is indeed stalking in helicopters. That's amplification of helicopter activity, and the light source remains in perfect alignment with me in the same manner that it is right now, as I've started this video at 7 o'clock in the morning, as early as 6:30 in the morning, which is when I started capturing pictures. That is a duration of time of more than 11 hours at one address, visible through the windows of one apartment building, and under no circumstances is this the natural environment shared with the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. It's a scientific impossibility. It is the pattern of conduct, however. You're looking at the identical pattern, which is shared with the state where it is stalking. Specifically in California, the demon-possessed and corrupt government uses helicopters to engage in terrorism with the people of the state. It is the identification of the crime scene where the entire population will be prosecuted for the terrorism that they are maliciously engaging in. It is currently 6:22 p.m. when you're looking at that, which is not possibly the sun still remaining in perfect alignment with me. And this is non-movement of what is a light source, speaking to the ongoing engagement in state surveillance. And this is called crossing a path. It is a sex offense. It's that Silverview Townhomes. It's a sex offense while I'm subject to surveillance inside of a private space. The government and the people of the state shall be prosecuted for that unlawful and unfathomable level of invasion of privacy as a population, as a government, including every moment that is personal, private. It's a matter of public information, and it is a massive and sexually violent act by the government who is engaging in that level of invasion of an American citizen's life in every detail. Okay, it should not be a matter of public information amongst the demons pacing up and down Glendale Boulevard and the demons stalking in helicopters and airplanes when I'm putting on a tampon. And that's the reality of federal group stalking and monitoring. The entity is engaging in what is maintaining a light source here, and it is not anywhere seen in Ontario, California. The light source is seen directly over the vehicles parked in the same parking lot where Christopher On is group stalking this morning amongst engineered light. This is the light source that you can see directly over the vehicles, which I will point it out. The engineered light that's on my ceiling, not sunlight. That's the engineered light that's on my walls and on the living room right now. And the light source is seen right in, this is what I'm pointing out in the video, it's right over the property. This is not anywhere in Ontario, nor could it possibly be in Ontario. And the P.O.C. is going to the extent to document as a matter of conclusive evidence that this is not the natural environment, nor would the sun ever be present at the same environment, the same location, the same address, in addition to being in perfect alignment with me. This is the evidence of what is stalking by a population who are demon possessed also, in addition to their demonic activity, their demonic behavior in the demonic environment. It is demonic activity. It is going to be prosecuted because the government's engaging in demonic activity with the population that are legally referred to as the people of the state while they're together group stalking. It's terrorism. It's psychotic. It's sexually violent. And it is what is an unfathomable level of interference in your constitutional and human rights, and also the ongoing public display of every aspect of your life, because this entity is also engaging in surveillance on the venue of the internet. And so that's also a relevant aspect of the prosecution, because the government that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring is also aware of the fact that it is being exposed and documented and published for purposes of prosecution. And that ongoing continuous pattern of conduct is relevant to the punishment and the means whereby the federal government is also seeking to deter while it is sentencing and charging the government with the charges, and the people of the state are the government. the entity that's group stalking is necessarily doing so, and as a matter of evidence, it's already established that the government is doing so with the people of the state. This is the same parking lot where Christopher On is walking in alignment to me, and engineered lights across this field right here in the parking lot, hitting the windows with engineered light, which is under no circumstances sunlight, and this is the placement, and this is again the bedroom window. I'm inside of the same apartment right now, and it's 7 o'clock where I'm starting this video. This video on the bottom is captured at 6:22. That's plus 11 hours of a maintenance of a light source where the entity is stalking in helicopters, and this is where the entity is maintaining engineered light for purposes of federal group stalking and monitoring. And then steadily increasing its, it is just moments later, it's 7:04 a.m. You're gonna look at 214 South Euclid Avenue, you see that directed light on that building. The state's fake sun is right here over the museum. And that's the same light that the state travels across to be right here where you see the line on the grass, where the state is acting as though the sun is rising right here. So I want to be clear, what is this light source in alignment with me at 225 South Euclid Avenue, where the entity, the documentation establishes the maintenance of this light source for the duration of the day, excluding Alvarado Gardens as being any location, and every documented maintenance of presence of the light source, not the sun, including the California DMV in Glendale, is speaking to what the entire state of California is engaging in, as I have documented a large percentage of the population engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring, and every single third party and state actor are subject to federal prosecution based on the established pattern through the documentation of the P.O.C. showing the unnatural environment remaining where I am, which is stalking. It's demonic, it's terrorism by the state, because the state is stalking in that specific environment, which is exactly what I continue to document while I remain at one address for the duration of the day, and the light source remains in perfect alignment with me, that which is not the sun, and it's also stalking that I'm subject to in that demonic environment. And there is no light activity that's going to exist inside of my apartment where the so-called sun is over 225 South Euclid Avenue in perfect alignment with me. Just exactly what you see here in perfect alignment with me. In addition to that, the entity is maintaining the light source here in Los Angeles in alignment to me for the duration of the day, which is what I just documented. And this light activity that you see, this is the pattern of engineered light. It's on my ceiling inside of my bedroom, which is what I documented at 5:08 p.m. It's outside of my bedroom window, as I pointed out. The entity is maintaining this engineered light at all hours of the day, both in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. It has nothing to do with the placement of the light source. These are distinct methods of identifying targeting by the population. It's both on the ceiling and on my bed, which is pointing upward above my head and the trajectory of light at a downward motion. And the entity is doing so, maintaining this light source at the property over my head for the duration of the day. As it follows, as I go toward my apartment in the afternoon, this is the same maintenance of the light source. Engineered light remains all over the population, the same hillside where the sun rises after 5 p.m. This is a crime scene as opposed to a normal and operation of a private residence area or a neighborhood, an ordinary neighborhood. This is speaking to the scientific impossibility that the sun is ever over the, not over only the Ovitt Family Community Library, but the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. And there's a whole body of evidence where this is directly over my head for the duration of the day, at not only the Ovitt Family Community Library, but the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, where I would wake up and the entity would keep a light source over me. Everything that's happening, let me be clear, this is the same parking lot in the middle of the afternoon, where the entity is maintaining the light source at 3:26 in the afternoon. And after 5 o'clock in the evening, and at 6 o'clock in the evening, this is where the same light source is seen through the windshields of the same vehicle. And it is maintaining a pattern of keeping in alignment with me. That's what I'm documenting in Ontario, California, where the entity was stalking day and night in helicopters, which is what I continuously documented. So let me show you that, including where I would go. So evidence of stalking in helicopters is the pattern of following. So where I'm sleeping at the museum, that's where the entity was concentrating helicopter activity. Where I am sleeping inside of a vehicle, that's where the entity was concentrating helicopter activity. So for example, on June 22nd, where I am sleeping inside of a vehicle, as opposed to the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, where the entity is flying circles over me, just like the entity does here, the LAPD, the demon possessed, which Dominic Choi is fully aware of what this department is engaging in as a matter of a pattern of conduct amongst the state, not just the demons of the LAPD, which is how you know Dominic Choi's condition and the criminal system that Dominic Choi and the LAPD, the LA Sheriff's Department, Robert Luna are participating in, and you are not ignorant about the pattern that you are acting in conformity to. This is exposure for the criminal activity that Robert Luna and Dominic Choi and the departments are engaging in together. They are terrorist organizations as opposed to law enforcement agencies. Okay, this hypocrisy, this public corruption is being put on full display, in addition to showing the ways in which the federal government shall punish it and prosecute it. And it includes removing the corrupt leaders in the position whereby this public corruption can exist and fester. All right, this is how you have multiple police departments literally mirroring the same identical demonic activity and public corruption of stalking in a specific environment. The demon possessed, in other words, literally filling police departments and sheriff's departments where they are engaging in what is public corruption with the people of the state. Totally antithetical to what law enforcement agencies are supposed to be engaging in. It's in opposition to the very oath that they take. It is under no circumstances even in common with the Constitution that they are governed by. And they are speaking to what is the explanation for that public corruption. It is because not only are you making a decision to defy what they know that their roles are, this is why the secret system was in existence. I have blown that secret to smithereens. And now this public corruption, this demon possession, this criminal activity while you're wearing a badge and wanting to be honored and shown as dignified in pictures taken with the mayor, and in the dark you're engaging in what are unthinkable acts of criminal conduct. And because you serve Satan, it's demonic at its core. That's what Dominic Choi and Robert Luna are actually about. That's what they're doing that they don't want you to know about, and it is in conformity to a long documented pattern. All right, the chief of police and the police department of the Ontario Police practicing the same pattern in an engineered environment. My shadow, again, the engineered light, as I've documented the P.O.C., this is already on the record, but what you'll see here is the ongoing pacing in helicopters in an engineered environment, because no street lamp, no light activity creates multiple shadows around you, just like you saw as I walked through the parking lot last night here in Los Angeles. And who is tracking my steps? That is not coincidentally in the specific environment flying by. That's called crossing path in the specific environment. The same address where the sun is rising and setting. That is the LAPD acting in conformity to the pattern already on the record exhibited by the same entity, in other words, the state of California group stalking via the Ontario Police Department.
International Airport.
Planes and helicopters.
It's called crossing path, remaining on the south side of my person. All right, they remain on a very specific side, hovering over in relevant position. This is Fern Avenue, and that's G Street. That's crossing path as well. This is directed light, and the entity is also stalking by helicopter. The moment I step out of the car, the Ontario Airport is already hovering. That's audible activity while a stalker is using a commercial airline plane. The Ontario Police Department is stalking by helicopter as well.
So I want to point this out. This is engineered light that's appearing on the gate. It's dark. It's at nighttime, but this illumination on this white gate, that's directed light. The shadow of cheese are appearing upright on the wall, and I have multiple shadows, and I've already documented the engineered environment in Ontario on this street while the demons that are the people of the state are driving down Fern Avenue, driving down G Street, engineered lights swiping all across the upward portion of buildings, which has nothing to do with your headlights. The same pattern that I documented, I specifically referenced it while the demons at Silverview townhomes were engaging, literally mirroring that same identical pattern of conduct. That's called stalking in the path with engineered light. The same engineered light that's on my living room walls and on my floor right now that I'm showing you is on my kitchen wall in the middle of the day, while that which is not even the sun remains over this address for the duration of the day. That's the same pattern of conduct, and it's already on the record what the demons of Silverview townhomes are engaging in, and it is the state's pattern of conduct, which Mayor Karen Bass is not ignorant, while the whole population is mirroring an identical pattern of conduct. Mayor Kim Bass is being exposed as engaging in what is a facilitator. This is a corrupt government actor who is engaged in state terrorism, fully aware of it. You are, and where you want to deny the fact that you're demon possessed, I do not care about that. I'm letting the world know that's what her condition is. That's what's going on in the state of California. That's the why as to this public corruption. And even where a demon possessed corrupt government actor wants to deny it, well, you are talking about what is nothing less than dereliction of duty. Okay, so under any circumstances, this is not about a prosecution for being demon possessed. This is exposing the truth about what these demons don't want you to know about. And I'm also letting you know about their criminal conduct. And it is because they bow to Satan. Whether they know that they're instruments of Satan or not, They also know about what they're doing, which is wrong, which is in conflict with their very duties that they hold. They know that. That's the malice with which they act. Whether they know that they're actually demon possessed or not, many people perhaps will learn, but I'm going to let you know the malice with which the people of the state act. They are intentionally crossing path with simultaneity to my physical movement and operation of a communication device. They are intentionally stalking in the path with engineered light moving across buildings, which is not a natural occurrence. They are specifically crossing path in sync, in concert with simultaneity to the demons who are terrorizing 24 hours a day in helicopter. That's what they know that they are doing. Whether they know the cause of their mental psychosis, their deranged behavioral patterns, this is what the P.O.C. provides added context for. It is because they are demon possessed. That's the why as to their criminal conduct and the why as to the public corruption that Karen Bass is engaged in. Okay? You are not ignorantly participating in a pattern. You're not ignorantly participating in a pattern under any circumstances. This is engineered light, and the entity is indeed stalking in a helicopter, and the pattern of stalking in a helicopter they're following. As I sleep at the Ontario Museum of History and Art, it's already on the record, day and night stalking in helicopter. As I go to a different address, sleeping in a vehicle, stalking, flying for a prolonged period, stalking in helicopter. Let me give you one more example as to what the Los Angeles Police Department, those demons, are mimicking with regard to what is a documented pattern. Stalking, flying for 47 minutes. Oh, they're not the first demon-possessed agency to engage in that. Indeed, flying over me in circles for 21 minutes in helicopter. This is demons that are the Ontario Police Department who are documented kidnappers and the people of the state that engaged in kidnapping, which again, on June 21st, 2022, this is the day that I'm released from kidnapping at the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, where there is no shared natural environment. I'm documenting the light source that's remaining over me in Los Angeles, but yet I'm documenting the maintenance of the light source that's at the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center upon my release from kidnapping by this same government. And there are a list of people who are going to federal prison. All the roles that they filled while they were seeking to facilitate and conceal, obstruct justice for what this government knows that I was documenting and exposing about it. So they make up information with the people of the state. This is how you come up with, by the way, an employee warning notice, which is why that corporate office of Speaker Companies is going to federal prison. That's why. That's a criminal act of obstruction of justice and unfathomable level of malice, which is showing a mental illness. That's a psychopath that engages in that level of malice for no purpose whatsoever. When you are the group stalker, you are in the shoes of the state, and the malice with which you act, the criminal conduct, in other words, that you're engaging in while you make such statements, while you engage in such conduct, no federal government is going to miss it, and I thoroughly documented it. You're going to federal prison for that. The entity is engaging in what is stalking in a helicopter as I am at a different location. That is by definition stalking. They are also doing so in the specific environment. This is evidence of their demon possession and the malice with which they are stalking as the government in concert with the people.
Begin flying in a circle in a helicopter. All right, this is the state, this is the public entity that is a demon-possessed stalker, by the way, and is flying in a circle. This is a demonstration of demon possession as well. This is 630 North Fern Avenue, and it is 1:54 in the morning, and I have tons of videos of the state doing this exact same thing in 2019 when I was living in my vehicle, which is exactly what the state is doing now, federal stalking, and this is terrorism by the state. The government is literally engaging in the use of helicopter to stalk an American citizen and is engaging in monitoring with communication devices, creating audible activity at 1:53 in the morning, and engaging in stalking with activity. That is the demonic conduct of creating this audible activity and surfacing visibly because the state was already stalking.
And so that's now light activity where the demons will turn on the spotlight on the helicopter. I have already told you what this flying in circle conduct is about. It's occurring in the specific environment. Spotlight on, spotlight off. It's light activity. The flying in circles is demonic pacing. That's a demon, in other words, a demon-possessed person that's flying a helicopter and is pacing in the same way that the people of the state are all demon-possessed. And you're not looking at traffic. You're not looking at pedestrians. You're not looking at somebody pushing the stroller. You're not looking at somebody that's actually walking a dog. You're looking at what are demon-possessed people who are pacing back and forth as a group, as opposed to one freak weirdo who are on their face looking weird, which a demon wants to hide both what they're doing and their mentally deranged behavior by going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, which is what the demon-possessed want to do. So they're doing it as a group. That's what group stalking is. The purpose is to maintain presence in your path all around you amongst the engineered light. That's the explanation for the demonic light activity inside of my apartment. It's actually the engineered light that's covering all of the land, and it's a light source that's not even the sun. In addition, street lamps and lamps outside do not create shadows all around you such that you're surrounded by a gang of your shadows. That's the engineered environment where demons are likewise stalking in helicopters. and stalking by the people of the state. And it is literally documented by maintenance of presence where you live, and you will be prosecuted. You are not hiding in relevant position. You are not hiding, there is no sense of anonymity, group stalking with the state, and you are exercising no privacy in the specific environment. It is the means whereby a public entity is engaging in public corruption in plain sight, where they're group stalking you by address. That's what all the demons at Alvarado Gardens are doing. And since they want to live in an apartment complex and group stalk the property manager, and all the ways that they've engaged in those acts of terrorism, which you have seen, as I've been documenting it specifically since the entity wanted to engage in what is communicating a threat to my life by flying over my head in helicopters, everybody's going to federal prison for that. The whole property, all 59 units. So the entity is acting with the state. The state stalking is direct evidence against the people of the state. This is how the pattern works. This is why I was able to capture this pattern in an entirely different region. And it is impossible to mimic an identical pattern of this nature. Every aspect of it is a phenomenon. And then you're talking about what is the impossibility to have such a ratio in an entirely different region. Both the environment and the behavior. That's the P.O.C. That's what Dominic Choi and Karen Bass and Robert Luna know all about. They know all about it, while the demon-possessed population and their corrupt law enforcement agencies are engaging in the same exact pattern of conduct. All right, this is flying in circles for 21 minutes. That's what I'm documenting. All right, we've seen this before. This is exactly what the demons of the LAPD engaged in. And those fools have the audacity to continue to engage in that criminal system to date. There are people that are going to federal prison for a very long time because of that. And not only are they group stalkers, but they are monitoring while they are aware of the fact that they're being documented. That is an intolerable threat posed by the government, engaging in more threatening conduct, while I specifically identify names who are going to be held accountable for this group stalking that I'm subject to. There are people who are going to be held accountable for that. That's an intolerable threat to the life of an American citizen who has a right to not be subject to it in the first place. You don't even have a right to do it in the first place. And then you do more of it as it's being exposed about how mentally deranged you are, about how satanic you are, about how criminal and corrupt you are. This is what LAPD
they are engaging
mimicked, okay, for 47 minutes. You remember this? Flying in circles over me. All right, this video is at 30 minutes, so I'm going to digress here. But what LAPD is doing, LAPD is mimicking what demons before them were already documented and engaged in. And I documented the LAPD and the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department in 2020 when I was living in an entirely different region, and the entity totally abandoned its pattern amongst a natural environment, if you would want to argue that. There's no natural environment when I get on Amtrak and I go to Upland, California, and the fake sun's not remaining over the Upland Public Library all day. It's remaining over me through the window of the Amtrak train as I go to the Union Station in LA. That's where the fake sun was, suddenly. The two are not happening at the same time. That's a pattern of remaining with the light source into LA and back to San Bernardino County, where it was also setting at night, rising over me, setting over me. If I go to LA, that's where the fake sun will pursue. That's not the natural environment. Nor can it possibly, for example, remain over the roof of the Upland Public Library all day long when you're documenting that grand deviation from a supposed pattern of the natural environment. It also logically follows the natural environment does not entail whatsoever the light source, the sun remaining over one address for the duration of the day, which is documented at the Upland Public Library. This is on its face, the scientific impossibilities. Within the scientific impossibility, demons are stalking in helicopters in California. And where the demons are stalking in helicopters, which is the state's criminal act, the people are engaging in that same system. And the people like to show their demon possession too, stalking amongst engineered light, which is the P.O.C. The entity fills my apartment with that, and that's direct evidence, not circumstantial. It's direct evidence of federal group stalking and monitoring. It is the documentation for what is a sex offense that's not only occurring in the workplace, while I'm the property manager here, it's occurring while you're molested with this engineered light, while you are looking at it inside of your private space, while it's appearing and disappearing. This is terrorism that you're subject to, while the demons that are the LAPD are mirroring exactly what the demons of the Ontario Police Department, the Fontana Police Department, the Montclair Police Department, the San Bernardino Police Department, stalking in helicopters is what they're doing as a state in a very specific environment. It is currently, while the entity is maintaining this engineer light inside of my apartment, this is called impunity. Under no circumstances does it become natural or normal, because the demons are obsessively engaging in it because they can't think of anything else to do. And the federal government's going to help them with that. When you engage in terrorism of an American citizen, you will stand down. You're going to stop. That's what California is going to learn to do. You're going to remove people like Karen Bass, Robert Luna, Dominic Choi, and let me be clear, everyone else in the nation is going to learn what California took a very long time to learn. California took a very long time to learn, but others will learn from the mistakes of California. You will stand down. You will not continue to threaten and terrorize an American citizen. That's what this light activity represents, while the light source remains over me for the duration of the day, setting in alignment to the same apartment. That's how I'm capturing it after 6 and 7 o'clock in the evening. This is P.O.C. It's currently 7:40 a.m.